Have you ever felt like you're different? Like you carry a quiet strength that others can't quite explain? Some people admire you, others envy you, and yet some may even try to tear you down. But no matter what, you rise. Why is that? Today we're going to explore the powerful signs that prove you are walking in divine favor, and once you see these signs, you'll never doubt your worth again. Imagine this. There is something different about you. You feel it, don't you? Maybe you've never put it into words, but deep down, you know you are not like everyone else. People look at you and they sense something they can't quite explain. Some admire you, some envy you, and some even try to bring you down. But no matter what life throws at you, you rise again stronger, wiser, and more resilient. And do you know why? Because you are a woman favored by God. You are not ordinary. You are chosen, set apart, and guided by a force far greater than you can imagine. Today, I'm going to reveal 8 powerful signs that prove you are walking in divine favor. If you recognize even one of these signs in your life, understand this. You are destined for something far greater than the world could ever plan for you. Stay with me until the end, because once you understand these signs, you will never question your worth again. Life is full of trials, and anyone who tells you otherwise is either naive or lying. But there is something deeply profound about suffering, because it is the one thing that reveals the truth about who you are. A woman favored by God is not someone who has lived an easy life. No, quite the opposite. She is the one who has walked through fire and emerged stronger. She is the one who has faced loss, rejection, and hardship, but refuses to be destroyed. Look at most people. When they face adversity, they collapse under its weight. They become bitter, resentful, and look for someone to blame. They let their pain define them. But the woman who is truly favored does something entirely different. She takes the suffering and turns it into something meaningful. There's something extraordinary about someone who has endured immense struggle and hasn't let it break them. They carry themselves differently. They speak with a depth that cannot be faked. They have a presence that commands attention not because they seek it, but because their very existence radiates strength and people notice it. They might not always be able to articulate why, but they feel it. They feel the weight of the battle she has fought and won, and they are drawn to it. But make no mistake, this strength comes at a cost. When you rise above your suffering, you will find that not everyone will celebrate it. Some will envy it, some will resent it, and some will go out of their way to challenge you to see if they can break you in ways that life could not. And this is where the real test begins. By now, you can see that life challenges us not to break us, but to help us recognize our true strength. Stay tuned, as I'll continue to share the remaining signs that will help you understand more about yourself on this journey. Let's pick up where we left off, talking about how a woman favored by God remains open, resilient, and compassionate despite the world's harshest trials. Now, let's continue. It's not just about surviving hardship. It's about refusing to let it harden your heart. It's about taking the pain and using it to cultivate wisdom instead of bitterness. It's about seeing suffering not as a curse, but as a tool for transformation. And this is where most people fail. Most people let their suffering turn them into something ugly. They become cynical, closed off, unwilling to trust or love. But a woman favored by God does the opposite. She remains open not because she's naive, but because she understands that true power lies in vulnerability. She refuses to let pain rob her of her ability to feel. She refuses to let the cruelty of the world make her cruel in return. Think about that for a moment. To remain kind in a world that has given you every reason not to be, that is strength. To continue believing in love after experiencing betrayal, that is faith. To rise after every fall, to face every challenge with the knowledge that you've already endured worse, that is power. And here's the truth. The world will not always reward this. In fact, it will often do the opposite. People will question you. They will misunderstand you. They will wonder why you don't carry the same bitterness that they do. They will mistake your resilience for arrogance. They will test you, hoping to see you fail. But what they don't realize is that you have already been tested. Life has already put you through the worst, and you did not crumble. So what could they possibly do that would be worse than what you've already survived? There's something almost terrifying about a person who has nothing left to fear. When you've been at rock bottom and fought your way back up, you develop an unshakable confidence. Not the kind that boasts or demands attention, but the quiet, steady confidence of someone who knows exactly who they are and what they are capable of. And that is the mark of someone truly favored. Because God does not grant favor to the weak, to the complacent, or to those who refuse to grow. He grants it to those who have proven themselves capable of carrying the weight of it. Because favor isn't just about blessing, it's about responsibility. And not everyone is willing to bear that burden. There's something about you that people notice even when you're not trying. It's not just the way you look or the way you speak, it's deeper than that. It's the way you carry yourself, the way you move through the world with a kind of presence that unsettles some and draws others in like a magnet. And it's not because you're putting on a show, trying to impress or be something you're not. No, it's because you are different. You stand apart. And when that happens, you start to notice a strange pattern in your life. People are either powerfully drawn to you or they seem almost irrationally opposed to you. There is rarely an in-between. And this, my friends, is where the journey takes another turn. Because once you begin to recognize the strength in your own vulnerability, you start to see how life itself begins to shift around you. Stay tuned as we explore how this inner transformation leads you to a new chapter of self-discovery. Let's pick up where we left off, where we explored how a woman favored by God disrupts the atmosphere simply by walking into a room, causing both admiration and resentment. Now, let's dive deeper into the challenges that come with this. It's difficult, isn't it? Because most people want to be liked. Most people want to fit in, to be accepted, to be understood. But when you are a woman favored by God, that's not the path you're given. Instead, you walk into a room and immediately you shift the atmosphere. Some people sense your strength, your depth, your wisdom, and they feel safe in your presence. They seek you out, they trust you without even knowing why. They recognize something in you that they are drawn to, even if they can't fully explain it. But for others, it's different. They feel threatened. They sense your power, and instead of admiring it, they become resentful. They see your confidence as arrogance, your independence as a challenge, your presence as a reminder of everything they are not. So, they try to tear you down. They gossip. They criticize. They try to find fault where there is none. They test you, hoping you'll break. They pretend to be your friend, only to disappear the moment they realize they cannot control or diminish you. At first, this can be painful. You might start to wonder, why? Why do some people seem to despise me when I've done nothing to harm them? You might feel like you're either deeply loved or completely misunderstood. And if you're not careful, you may even start to believe that you are the problem. But that's a lie. The truth is, your presence is disruptive, not because you are doing anything wrong, but because you are forcing people to confront themselves. You see, most people live in denial. They avoid looking too closely at their own insecurities, their weaknesses, their failures. Then you walk in self-assured, unshaken, fully aware of who you are and where you're going. Without even meaning to, you become a mirror. Some people look at you and feel inspired. They see what is possible, and they want to grow, to become better, to reach higher. But others, they look at you and feel exposed. They see what they could be, and instead of rising to meet that challenge, they retreat into bitterness. They tear you down because it's easier than facing the truth about themselves. This is where most people falter. They see the rejection, the resentment, and they take it personally. They think, maybe if I make myself small, people will accept me. Maybe if I change, they won't feel so uncomfortable. But that's not your path. A woman favored by God does not shrink herself to make others comfortable. She does not beg to be understood. She does not lower herself to be more palatable, to those who fear their own inadequacy. She stands firm. She walks forward. She continues to shine, even when others would prefer her to fade into the background. Because the truth is, you were not meant for everyone. You were not meant to fit into every circle, to be loved by every person you meet. The right people, the ones who are meant to walk with you on this journey, they will see you, they will value you, and they will rise alongside you. And the rest? Now, you might be wondering, if not everyone can see your worth, how do you know who belongs in your circle? Well, that's exactly what we'll explore next, how to identify the people who truly see you for who you are. Stay with me as we continue. Let's continue from where we left off about how some people will try to reject you, but how their rejection actually reveals your true strength. Now, let's dive deeper. They will remove themselves. Let them. Because their rejection is not a loss, it is a revelation. It is proof that you are not ordinary, that you were never meant to be. And that is something to be grateful for, not something to grieve. There's something unsettling about knowing things before you should, about feeling a shift in a room before anyone else does, about sensing when someone's words don't align with their true intentions. It's a burden, in a way, to see what others cannot, and yet it's also a gift. A woman favored by God is not blind to the world around her. She is deeply attuned to it. She picks up on the subtleties, the unspoken truths, the energy beneath the surface. While others may ignore their instincts, second-guess themselves, or silence the voice inside them that warns them of danger, she does not. Because she has learned often the hard way that her intuition is not just a fleeting feeling, it is a form of protection. And yet, people will try to convince her otherwise. They will tell her she's overthinking, that she's imagining things, that she's being too sensitive, but she is not. She has walked this path long enough to know when something is wrong. She has seen enough to recognize deception, manipulation, and false promises before they fully reveal themselves. And so she does not need proof to trust what she already knows. She does not need someone to validate her instincts before she acts on them. She has learned that by the time the truth is obvious to everyone else, it is already too late. This is why she is careful with her trust, not because she is cold or unfeeling, but because she understands that not everyone who enters her life is meant to stay. She does not mistake charm for character. She does not let words distract her from actions. She has seen people say all the right things while doing the exact opposite. And so she listens, really listens not just to what people say, but to what they don't say, to the way they behave when no one is watching, to the way their energy shifts when they think they are no longer being observed. And this is where most people fail. They ignore the warnings, they override their own instincts in favor of hope or love or the need for approval. They see the red flags and convince themselves they are not real. But a woman favored by God has learned that her intuition is not just a whisper in the back of her mind, it is a force designed to keep her from harm. She has learned that the moment she starts explaining away the discomfort she feels around someone, she has already begun to betray herself. But this wisdom comes at a cost, because when you are a person who sees clearly, you quickly realize that not everyone wants to be seen. Some people need you to be blind in order to manipulate you. They need you to doubt yourself so they can maintain control, and when they realize that you do not fall for their illusions, they turn against you. They call you difficult, accuse you of being unreasonable, or label you as too much to handle. And this, my friends, is the moment when your true strength shines. Because even when others try to break you, you stand firm. But how do you keep your strength when facing such opposition? We'll explore that next, thou, to protect your peace, even when the world tries to unsettle it. Stay with me. Continuing from the last reflection, we've explored how some people might try to distance themselves from you because they cannot handle the weight of your insight. But let's dive deeper into why this should never be seen as a loss, but rather as something to embrace. They may call it paranoia or distance themselves because they cannot handle the weight of your awareness. But this is not something to mourn. It is something to embrace. Because every person who walks away from you for this reason is revealing something crucial. They were never meant to walk with you in the first place. The people who truly belong in your life will not be threatened by your insight. They will not need you to be blind in order to stay. They will value your wisdom, respect your instincts, and seek to grow alongside you rather than trying to diminish you to feel more comfortable in their own ignorance. So, she does not apologize for seeing what others miss. She does not dim herself to make those around her feel more at ease. She does not ignore the voice inside her that has saved her time and time again because she knows that her intuition is not just a part of who she is, it is a divine gift. She has learned to trust it even when the rest of the world tells her not to. A woman favored by God does not live a life of ease. She is not sheltered from hardship, nor is she handed her blessings without struggle. No, she is tested again and again. She has been given obstacles that would break most people, challenges that force her to confront her deepest fears, moments that make her question everything she thought she knew about herself, and yet she does not fall. She may stumble, she may doubt, she may even cry out in frustration, but she does not break. Because every trial she faces is forging her into something stronger, something more unshakable, something that cannot be destroyed by the storms of life. But understand this, her resilience is not something she was simply born with. It is something she has built. It is something she has earned through suffering, through disappointment, through walking paths that others were too afraid to take. And because of this, she does not crumble under pressure. She does not fall apart when things do not go her way. She has learned that struggle is not a punishment, it is a form of preparation. It is life's way of shaping her into the kind of person who can carry the weight of greatness without being crushed by it. Yet, people will look at her and assume she has had it easy. They will see her confidence, her strength, her ability to navigate life with grace, and they will think she must have always been this way. But they do not see the battles she has fought in silence. They do not see the nights she spent wrestling with doubt, the times she wanted to give up but refused, the moments she had to rebuild herself from nothing. They do not see the sacrifices she made, the times she chose growth over comfort, the ways she had to harden herself to survive. This is where the true power lies. In the quiet moments, the unseen struggles. And as you continue walking your path, remember that what others don't see only adds to your strength. But how do you continue to move forward when no one understands the depth of your journey? Let's dive into that next thou to stay grounded in your purpose despite the misunderstandings of others. Stay with me. Continuing from our last reflection, we talked about the strength that comes from within. How you are no longer bound by the need for approval or validation from the world around you. Let's dive deeper into how this transformation shapes the way you live your life. You have been refined by fire. You no longer react to life the way others do. You do not panic over temporary setbacks. You do not crumble under criticism. You do not waste your time proving your worth to those who cannot see it. Why? Because you know who you are. You know what you've overcome. You know what you are capable of. And no amount of external validation or rejection can change that. And this terrifies people. Why? Because most of the world is driven by insecurity. Most people make their decisions based on fear, fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of being alone. But not you. You've already faced those fears and survived them. You've already been left out, overlooked, underestimated, and you've still risen. Because of this, you are free. Free from the need for approval. Free from the fear of standing alone. Free from the limitations that keep so many people stuck in lives that do not fulfill them. But freedom comes with responsibility. Because when you are strong, when you are independent, when you no longer need validation from the world, you will be tested in new ways. People will try to undermine you, to find cracks in your foundation. They will challenge you not because you are weak, but because they cannot comprehend your strength. Her resilience is not something she was simply born with. It is something she has built. It is something she has earned through suffering, through disappointment, through walking paths that others were too afraid to take. And because of this, she does not crumble under pressure. She does not fall apart when things do not go her way. She has learned that struggle is not a punishment, it is a form of preparation. It is life's way of shaping her into the kind of person who can carry the weight of greatness without being crushed by it. Yet, people will look at her and assume she has had it easy. They will see her confidence, her strength, her ability to navigate life with grace, and they will think she must have always been this way. But they do not see the battles she has fought in silence. They do not see the nights she spent wrestling with doubt, the times she wanted to give up but refused, the moments she had to rebuild herself from nothing. They do not see the sacrifices she made, the times she chose growth over comfort, the ways she had to harden herself to survive. This is where the true power lies, in the quiet moments, the unseen struggles. And as you continue walking your path, remember that what others don't see only adds to your strength. But how do you continue to move forward when no one understands the depth of your journey? Let's dive into that next thou to stay grounded in your purpose despite the misunderstandings of others. Stay with me. Continuing from our last reflection, we talked about the strength that comes from within, how you are no longer bound by the need for approval or validation from the world around you. Let's dive deeper into how this transformation shapes the way you live your life. You have been refined by fire. You no longer react to life the way others do. You do not panic over temporary setbacks. You do not crumble under criticism. You do not waste your time proving your worth to those who cannot see it. Why? Because you know who you are. You know what you've overcome. You know what you are capable of. And no amount of external validation or rejection can change that. And this terrifies people. Why? Because most of the world is driven by insecurity. Most people make their decisions based on fear. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of being alone. But not you. You've already faced those fears and survived them. You've already been left out, overlooked, underestimated, and you've still risen. Because of this, you are free. Free from the need for approval. Free from the fear of standing alone. Free from the limitations that keep so many people stuck in lives that do not fulfill them. But freedom comes with responsibility. Because when you are strong, when you are independent, when you no longer need validation from the world, you will be tested in new ways. People will try to undermine you, to find cracks in your foundation. They will challenge you not because you are weak, but because they cannot comprehend your strength.